Good evening, dandies. Welcome to Undetermined, the podcast.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Drainage Central.
Yes.
Ew. You can't hack it.
No. Yeah. Oh, my laughs tonight are going to sound all raily and, like an old man. But, yeah, all the allergies and colds aside, here we are. Undetermined the podcast. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. Welcome back in several respects.
Yeah.
To Jason.
Thanks for having me. Recording on a different continent last time, too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the big things I wanted to check with you on, because it's a rare thing to see somebody to have moved back and forth from Europe during the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
To see what the differences are. But yes, tonight we have Jason Thompson formerly from Little Teeth, now with Big Bird out of Chicago.
Yeah, I'm digging it.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
Thank
really
you.
Good shit.
Appreciate it.
You got to feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's the first time I played heavier music in quite a while.
Yeah, Jason joined us before.
From Germany.
Yeah.
Band Little Teeth. A little bit of background. I've known his wife since elementary school. Turns out that, she married a guy who is a really kick-ass musician. I checked out his music and really dug it. Turned out to be a cool guy as well. And welcome back, man. And we're real excited about this new project you got.
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome to be back talking with y'all. And yeah, this is, like I was saying, this is the first time I played heavy music in a while. So I was in a band before Little Teeth called The Sky We Scrape, which was kind of post-hardcore-ish, influences from Small Round Bike and Thrice. So it's a little heavier leaning.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to that, years before, I was in an actual proper metalcore band. But so since then, I hadn't done anything specifically heavier. So it's been fun to play with these folks and make some shreddy tunes and play with some riffs all day long. But
Yeah.
You got some bigger teeth now.
Got some bigger teeth on a bird.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
The name.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex, old friend of mine, they and I were talking about when I first decided to come back to the States. We had always been good friends over the years. They and I lived in the same neighborhood when I was in Chicago before moving, and they play in a band called Typesetter from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They're about to take a hiatus later this year, but good friends of my old bands, and we've always been in touch and just loved each other as humans. They're a great person. So when I decided to move back, they hit me up and they're like, I'd love to make music with you in some capacity. We have a lot of similar interests in different genres. So then we started kicking around ideas. And one of the things that's always hung me up, regardless of what genre or whatever band, is I used to get really hung up on band names.
Mm-hmm.
And overthinking them to death. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. Band names are kind of irrelevant, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, yeah.
I mean, what kind of name is Radiohead or the Foo Fighters? It doesn't really matter. It's just, and that's actually something that happened with Little Teeth too. I was I don't necessarily want to put too much weight in what the name is. So Corey named the band Little Teeth. And with Big Bird, we were going through some different names and of course finding other bands with the same name.
Ooh.
And Alex was like, you know what? Why don't we just call it, jokingly, they said, let's just call the band Big Bird. And it made me laugh so hard. And then, so we're like, it's just funny because it's obviously taken.
Right.
There's no disputing it. And we kicked around the idea of calling the band Biggest Bird or Bigger Bird.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're like, no, it's funnier, no matter what the genre is, just to call it Big Bird.
Right.
And then kind of inviting an eventual cease and desist letter.
Right.
So our long-term plan here that we've talked about, and I'm sure this won't come to fruition in the way we want it, but we would love it if we do get a cease and desist letter and whatever lawyer sends it, we're either going to rename the band that lawyer's name, or we're going to name the band Big Bert or something. Like it's just,
right.
We have some other ideas, but like
change a letter.
Right. Yeah. Like Big Bird with a Y.
Yeah. But actually, when we uploaded, like when we decided to do the name Big Bird, since there actually, surprisingly, there's other artists that go under the name Big Bird. We go by Big Bird, all lowercase with a period at the end. So it's like a silly, punctuation and just a moderate way to kind of differentiate us from some other bands out there. So when you see the band name, it's usually Big Bird with a period at the end. Facebook doesn't let us put that period at the end because Zuckerberg doesn't like us. But yeah, it was funny.
You just write it out, Big Bird period.
We almost did. Big Bird dot. Yeah, but so that was kind of like the where the name came from. It was just our own stupidity, and I credit Alex with with championing that. They have the they have the win for that one for sure.
Yeah,
it still makes me laugh every time.
It's still fun though. Yeah, I mean, it just automatically you hear that, and it just kind of makes you grin.
Yeah,
yeah, and it's funny. Like we were supposed to be playing. We were confirmed on a festival in Hamburg, Germany. That's taking place next weekend.
Oh wow!
Some friends of ours, but we decided to bow out of that. But it's put on by a really good friend of mine named Stefan. He runs this festival called Booze Cruise Festival. Like this year, bands like Lagwagon are playing, Press Club. Like there's some really good bands playing. My old band were supposed to play a few years ago in 2020, and like Hot Water Music was playing and the Menzingers. So it was pretty big bands, but all the venues there are much smaller than here. So it's one of my favorite festivals in the world. It's really great. But when Stefan found out that I was in a new band and it leans heavier, and Stefan's also friends with the folks in Typesetter, so there's a lot of connections. So he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to have you play." And at that point, I was still technically in Little Teeth, and he's like, "Yeah, we could do you, Little Teeth, and do a solo set." And he's like, "Yeah, what's the name of your new band?" And I was like, "Oh, we're Big Bird." I was like, "Excuse me." So it definitely causes a little bit of a little pause in every conversation I've had.
Big Bird featuring Pitbull.
Oh my god, yeah! I got to try that again.
The festival sponsored by the letter E.
And the number 4.
Yeah, that got to be the best cease and desist letter to get from Sesame Street,
Which, like, we also talked about if we do get one, like, I want to make a T-shirt out of it that's just that letter.
The letter, yeah.
Right.
But knowing our luck, they'll just let it slide forever because I don't even think PBS officially owns Big Bird or Sesame Street.
It's like Henson, isn't it?
Yeah, it's some third party because I looked it up for whatever, I guess for the reason that we're talking about, but to see like who might be sending us a letter.
Right.
But I mean, no, at this point, no one really would bat an eye. There's other problems in the world.
Right.
I would hope that there's more pressing problems for these people than sending a cease and desist letter to some idiots in Chicago.
Yeah. We talked about covering like a Sesame Street tune, like just something you hear we all know from Sesame Street.
That would be pretty great,
4,
actually.
5,
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Wow. Oscar the Grouch is pissed.
Got to figure out like exactly what the like the time is. It's like 15 seconds or whatever that you can sample without
actually getting
right, and just cut it off right with like a half second to spare. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Or it'd be one of these things is not like the other, right?
Or just Phenomena. That sounds great.
That's
a
good one.
Yeah. No press is bad press, I guess.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's this band, and they I don't know. I'm sure they're long since gone, but a band that I've seen ages and ages ago at the Fireside Bowl in Chicago. They were called the Vita Blue or the Vita Blue. I don't know exactly how it was pronounced, but VIDA Blue, and they're like an indie rock or punk band. I can't even remember. They were offered, like, so Trey Anastasio from Fish had a band that one of his side projects, and he wanted to call it the same name, Vita Blue. Mm-hmm. But this band had like either legal right to it, or I don't even know if they copyrighted it. I don't know how much truth there is to this, but apparently Trey Anastasio offered them $10,000 to give up the name. And they were like, just dirtbag kids in Chicago, as far as I knew. So like, yeah, sure.
Right.
So they took the money and renamed the band 10 grand, which was just like, I thought was pretty brilliant to be like, yeah, we'll take 10 grand and name ourselves 10 grand.
Good name too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I always said like, I thought Nirvana was a terrible band name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When it came
worked out.
But
I think it worked out for them in the long run.
Right. No, we were just talking. I don't remember who we were talking about that with, but yeah, it always sounded like new agey to me.
Yeah, it was like, oh god,
right? You expected there to be like flowers and
with
incense and right, namaste at the door.
But then sonically they're basically the polar opposite of that, which is pretty great.
Yeah, the Beatles. I mean, shit, there's plenty of examples.
Just garbage names. Yeah,
right. Garbage names, great bands.
Yeah,
that's a good thread to start too. By the way, in social media, it's like
worst names, worst name,
best band. Yeah, or best name, worst band.
Yeah, there are those too.
Yeah, yep. I just thought Fight for Fighting was a great band name for a terrible band. But yeah, you were involved in all that lockdown and shit in Germany, and come back here. What were some of the biggest things you noticed? What were some of the biggest changes?
So it was interesting. Like the lockdown over there was pretty severe, and I felt like it was pretty severe in the moment. Just like especially towards the beginning of the pandemic, which is still ongoing, of course. Spoiler alert. Like over there in Munich, especially for the first bit of it, everything was completely locked down. Like it was the only things that were open were grocery stores. You were allowed to take short walks for your own health, but it would only be for a short period of time. If you were going to another location, like if you had to go to your office or whatever, you had to have written authorization, and that company had to submit you as an authorized person to be traveling on public transit or even driving. So most places, of course, just like over here in the States, transition to remote everything.
Right.
There was a lot more support there in terms of like social structures for musicians and for venues and things like that, where there was some money to help them kind of be afloat for a while, which I know here there were things like Save Our Stages. So my good buddy, John Ugolini from Kickstand Productions, he was part of that movement here in Chicago, I know, mainly because there wasn't any support for that. But yeah, in general, I think it was scary everywhere. The positive difference over there, especially, was like, being on the socialized healthcare. That was, there was a lot less to worry about, I think, for people.
Right.
And I feel like people took it really seriously over there for the most part. There were a lot of like anti-vaxxers and over there, the term, not quite QAnon, but borderline-ish in terms of Germans, where it was the Querdenkers, which is just basically just as right-wing as you can get, with probably without throwing the Nazi label on them. But so coming back here, we moved back kind of during a lull of numbers, which was really convenient timing. So we moved back here in August of 2021. So it's been about 10 months since we've been back. First, it was weird how not weird it was to be back, just socially.
Mm-hmm.
But also like seeing so many people not really giving a shit about wearing a mask or not in a store it just boils my blood.
Yeah.
And now that at least in Chicago, now that the mask mandates have largely gone away, like some places, of course, can say, no, we'd really ask you to wear them. I get less worked up about it.
Right.
It's just like people being inconsiderate of other people's health concerns. And, like I have a lot of friends that are immunocompromised, and myself, I'm thankfully not, but I don't want to pass it on to anyone else, and part of the reason why Kelly and I moved back to the States was to be close to friends and family.
Right.
And, part of that is making sure everyone can be healthy. So that was one thing that just in the transition period was kind of a stark difference, was a lot of people's, and I'm generalizing, of course, but a lot of people's lack of care of others. And it was kind of like when we would see somebody walk into Target, for example, during, the highest numbers in Chicago that we'd had in a very long time, someone not wearing a mask just would walk around like, and maybe this is me reading into it too much, but just like walking around with like a shit-eating grin and just
Oh no, they totally did that.
Yeah, so like whenever we'd see them, somebody like that, I'd be like, "What a brave patriot!"
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are just,
Yeah.
That I think that was like part of the harder part of the transition, and then also coming back and being like, paying for our own healthcare, which is a fraction of the benefit.
Yeah, a huge fraction for a lot of people.
Yeah, I could imagine. Well, I can't, but I can. Just if I didn't have to worry about paying for healthcare for a while,
yeah,
and then I suddenly did. Holy shit!
Oh yeah,
because it ain't cheap.
No, and that's the thing. Like, so over there, I was paying for it. It was part of my taxes, and for my tax bracket, I was paying a lot more than others, but I was happy to do so. So those that had a lower level of income, they still had this exact same coverage, or those that were houseless,
right,
had the same income, or not had the same coverage. So, my wife carries around an EpiPen because she's allergic to bees. She got stung by a bee at one point when we were going on a long walk, went to the emergency room, no bill.
Yeah.
There was another incident where like there was, stitches involved, no bill. Hit myself. I walked into a door frame at work, got stitches on my face, no bill. So I went to the emergency room a bunch of different times with not a single dollar owed. And then, it just repeat. Wisdom teeth taken out over there, nothing.
Wow. Yeah.
And then now, like, I mentioned before we started recording, I had a minor procedure yesterday.
Which worried me.
Oh, no. Well, thank you for saying that. It's all's well. I won't gross anyone out on the air with what it was, but it's all good. Thank you. Thanks for your concern. But yeah, like I know that's going to be, I don't know what the bill is going to be, but it's not going to be cheap. So
right.
It was outpatient, and then I was put under for, not very long. It was a pretty quick procedure, but yeah, like things like that, I didn't have to worry about.
Right.
Because it was it's like, I don't know if this is the right metaphor. It might be mixing metaphors, but like the rising tide lifts all ships. Like, so everyone's taken care of by the same benefit. And I think that metaphor is intended for something
yeah,
else.
that's Reaganism. That's let's rich people help everybody.
Cut that. So let's well, basically, yeah. Like I just want to make sure everyone's taken care of. So that's one
rising
thing.
Rising tide sinks all ships.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it is in capitalism.
Well, let's scratch that, and I'll just say that I want everyone to be taken care of as best as they can, regardless of where they're at.
No, but I mean, I think conservatives in a lot of ways they use things like that sound good. They sound truthful. What example was I just thinking of? It was just some of the ideas that like right to work.
They come up with names that
is a law here in Missouri. It's like right to work. We all have a right to work. It's like no, that entire law is a right to fire you for no reason.
Right. You're just framing it in a positive word.
Exactly.
Like,
it can trick you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to be careful. Yeah. They're good at that. They're good at those little phraseologies.
That's the thing. Yeah. Don't love that. But
no.
Actually, speaking of the whole right to work thing, that's another change. So previously I was employed by German companies, since 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And over there, they have what's called your first 6 months is called Probezeit, which is German word for probationary period.
Right.
And during that time period, you or the employer can cancel the contract at any point. Once you pass that probation period, it's really difficult to get fired.
Kind of like tenure.
It basically like tenure, but
right.
I would say like one over here might say, someone over here might say like, oh, people are going to abuse the system and just not work as hard once they're tenured.
Right.
Which is not the case.
No.
Like people, like you're in that job because you love it. And well, not everybody, but a lot of people feel like they're making a difference, or they do that because that's where they want to be. So people, I have not seen anyone really abuse that over there. And now transitioning back over here to the States, it's a, quote unquote, right to work contract. I'm of course very grateful for the agency that I work for, the most lovely people I've ever worked with in my entire life. And most of them are German. So it is a US contract, but it's basically like very like-minded people. I don't feel like I have to worry about it, but that's a big thing here is like,
oh yeah.
On one side, you're saying like, oh, no one wants to work. And then it's like, well, we can fuck you over at any time for any reason.
Anytime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for finding somebody who's, they just want to employ differently or
Right.
or anybody else they like more or whatever. I mean, they
Yeah.
just throw you in the can.
And I've been laid off here in the States before, and one time maybe it was for just cause and maybe one time it wasn't, but
Right.
like and that's fine. Like, at least in my personal experience, that's always worked out in the end. I'm also thankful for that, but yeah, that's been another kind of change, but I'm also very thankful that the job I do have, I work from home.
Yeah.
So I'm able to be remote and I still interact with a lot of folks, albeit virtually. Oh, actually, but on that, I'll be going back to Munich for work for a week or so in about 3 weeks or so. And that'll be the first time I'm back in Munich. So if you want me to smuggle back any any treats for you, let me know.
Yeah, well, I'll have to. What are treats that we want smuggled?
I don't know.
What's a Munich specialty?
I mean, beer.
Beer, yeah.
Good beer. Yeah.
Good beer, which is kind of hard to, I could bring back a few bottles. Some good friends of mine run a brewery called Tillman's Beer in Munich. It's like it's Munich made, but it's more like American craft style leaning, and it's so good. I'm honestly not much of a beer person, but they do it right.
Yeah.
And they're just the best people in the world.
Well, they still got like the purity laws and shit over there, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of ingredients and like proportions and all that, like they're very strict on that. And in Munich, it's like it's a religion there.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not so much here.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's you can put,
antifreeze.
Which don't knock it until you try it. It's got a lovely color.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what they say. I don't know if it's true or not, but they say that about shopping at Aldi's.
Mm-hmm.
That because it's a German-owned company, that a lot of the products they get are, they follow purity law, like a lot of the wine from Aldi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've bought the Winking Owl. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and Aldi is like everywhere in Germany. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. Yeah, going to Aldi here. I've only been to Aldi once since, or at least for grocery shopping here, but since we've been back. But it's basically like the same layout, pretty much same style.
Uh-huh.
And then it's crazy coming back and like walking through and being like, a lot of these are the same products, which is kind of hard to find.
Is it hard to get quarters for the carts in Germany?
Well, there it's even worse because it's not quarters. It's a single. It's either a €1 coin or a €2 coin. So you have to have like $1 or $2, depending on the conversion rate, like just ready for your cart.
Yeah.
They do make those little tokens like that you can put in there that kind of fit the space, so you don't have to waste $1. You have like your own coin. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass when you're like, I just wanted to buy one thing and it is big enough that I needed a cart, but I can't get a cart because I need that money for the thing.
You're right. Yeah. I thought Ireland kind of fucked with you like that with like the punch and the coins. It's just like the coins are worth so much more. Yeah. And as Americans, you don't think about change being, really worth anything.
Worth anything.
Yeah. And I came home with like a bunch of change in my pocket. I was like, I got some Irish coins. I looked at the exchange rate, but I had like something like $80 in my pocket in change. And I was like, Jesus Christ, we could have, had a really good dinner or whatever on this.
Yeah. I did that. I did a tour, a solo tour with my buddy Jeff, who plays under the name Divided Heaven.
Mm.
We played in Germany. It was December of 2019, so just before the pandemic, basically. We played in Germany, Switzerland. I don't know if we played in Austria, but we played like Liechtenstein. I think it was 4 different countries. But we came back with a bunch of different currencies. And, the last night we were counting it and kind of dividing it up.
Yeah.
I was like, God, all these coins. I'm like, geez, it like adds up hard.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I remember coming back from Ireland and we were like, eating at a scraggly McDonald's in Heathrow or whatever. I just didn't realize that. It's like we had, we were just trying to barely get back home. Not enough money, It's like, we could afford. It's like, geez, we could have had steak. We could have had whatever.
Could have had bangers and mash, whatever.
Oh, yeah. So it's good.
Does sound good.
It does.
Any American staples you were happy to get back to?
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Yeah. Mainly there's cocktails here. I mean, there's some good cocktail bars over there, but I kind of know where to get what I like here. So that's one thing. But I would say the biggest thing that I was really amped to get back to was good Mexican food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like over in Munich, there are a few places where you can get quote unquote Mexican food. And there's one place that's probably the best place I've had, at least in the city of Munich. There's actual like folks from Mexico that opened it. So it's as good as you can get, but the ingredients they get there are not the same ingredients that you would be able to get, either in Mexico or in the United States or Midwest.
Yeah.
So they're definitely doing the best they can, but it's just most places it just tastes like airplane food.
Yeah, it's interesting, like how much of a difference, like it can be the same ingredients, but just from a different place, and that can make a difference.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference. And I read like this article, and it was really interesting about how Southern biscuits only taste that way because they're in the South, because the wheat that they use comes from the South. And if you go up north, it's just the wheat is different.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. You can process it the same way. You can do all this shit, but it's just, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And same thing with I know going back to whiskey, there's different, the water and the wheat is all different, and what, how you, where you get it from and all that. So it's a trip for sure.
Yeah. Like even the beer, like in Hawaii, the beer in Hawaii, it tastes like floral because just the air there, it just smells like orchids, on the Big Island anyway. That's the only place I went. I didn't go to, any of the bigger cities like Honolulu or anything, but it's just the air there is just so, floral and aromatic. And I mean, you could taste that in the coffee, you could taste that in the beer, you could taste that in the water just out of a fountain in the hotel.
Man.
The fruit, definitely different over there in the tropics, anywhere tropical.
I've never been to Hawaii. I would love to go.
Oh, yeah. The pineapple is just, I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it just makes every pineapple I've ever tasted in the mainland taste like shit.
So maybe don't eat it there.
Yeah, don't eat it. It just ruins it for you.
I mainly want to go because I loved the show Lost, and I just want to go to the Lost Islands and be a friggin' dork about it.
Oh, it's a beautiful spot. I mean, don't let anybody tell you that's Paradise Lost. It's not. It's especially you go to the Big Island. It's still a lot of it's very rural. Really only a couple decent, medium-sized cities there. The rest of it's all just, mangoes just rotting in the ditches. Tons of, from people just being just overburdened with them, with the fruit there and everything. Oh, it's great. Love that place.
Just reach into the gutter and find a mango, basically.
Yeah. You see a lot of surf bums just walking up and down the street, just living off the land.
Grabbing a mango.
Yeah. Well.
But yeah, burgers, I think, also are the same way. Beef, anywhere you go, if you're a meat eater.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were asking that in Ireland back in the 90s when we went there, and they were like, where's a good place to go to steak? And right then was like the mad cow breakout.
Don't do it.
Yeah, they were like, nah, have some fish.
Right. Yeah. How about not eat that?
No, I remember, being in Vienna and going to a McDonald's and just trying a cheeseburger, and I was like, nope, not the same. It is, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right.
It was a noticeable difference.
Yeah. They asked us, do you want salad on it? I was thinking, that's like, lettuce, tomato. No, they put coleslaw. Coleslaw on your burger.
It's like, what are you doing to this burger?
Yeah. But even standardized things like fast food restaurants tasted different than they did over here. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And I switched, Kelly and I both actually switched to a vegetarian diet in August of 2020, which was kind of a big change over in Germany. One would think, at least, because it's very, very sausage and meat forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But yeah, even like that more plant forward meals the transition from there to here, it's like you said, everything's even if it's the same, it's a little different. So it's kind of like, what is are my taste buds tricking me, or is this just really, different? But
what's the driving like? Is it opposite in Germany?
no, it's the same as here. Yeah, which is good.
Oh, same here. Okay, good.
Yeah, thankfully I can drive stick. I didn't know until a couple years before. Actually, Kelly taught me how to drive stick. Because every car you rent there is going to be stick shift. It's going to be manual transmission.
Weird.
Yeah, you can rent there are some places you can rent automatics, of course, but they're just a little bit more expensive. Just the standard is stick shift. So that was a big benefit, knowing how to do that, because otherwise we would have been kind of boned.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same side it's driving on the right side, so that makes it easy. Going to Ireland, though, we went to Ireland on a vacation, and it was like we went from the East Coast in Dublin to the West Coast, the Cliffs of Moher, and driving across these super small roads on the left side of the road, driving stick shift, and it was like,
oh yeah,
probably the most stressful drive of my life.
No, that would be weird. Yeah, I'm trying to picture shifting with my left.
Yeah, it was a trip. Yeah,
and the first time you hit one of those roundabouts, yeah.
Oh no,
in Ireland, enjoy that. Holy shit! Yeah,
it's everything.
I remember sitting in the passenger seat in Australia, and I went for the air brake constantly.
Yeah,
or I would I would also reach for the steering wheel when I got in.
Right,
like a Caddyshack, like move this
right. My friend laughed at me, which she should have.
Yeah, it's warranted. Yeah.
You get honked at a few times, you get used to it real fast.
Yeah.
If you don't want to die. So yeah, man, I've also been interested. Like, okay, you move there, you move back.
Mm-hmm.
What do you move with?
Yeah,
I mean, you can't bring a car back. You can't bring your, shit like that.
No. Yeah. So when we moved there, the company I was working for was gracious enough to pay for our relocation within reason. So one of their stipulations was you can't bring over any vehicles.
Right.
Partially because it's so much weight.
Yeah.
And that's just really expensive. And then there's a tax on top of it. And then, different exhaust regulations. And at that point we had a stick shift Jeep. It was just a 2-door, but it would have been pretty heavy to get over there. And so we sold that when we went over, which is great because parking in Munich, especially the neighborhood we lived in, was just a nightmare. I did have a motorcycle that I had to sell. It was a Harley Davidson. It was a smaller bike, but I loved it. It definitely would have been not street legal in terms of volume because I had some kind of aftermarket pipes that were not very neighbor friendly.
Yeah.
So I sold that to a friend of mine here. So we went there kind of just with, we brought a lot there, but we also had to buy a lot of stuff there. So we didn't bring a ton of furniture. Brought all my guitars, all my vinyl.
Oh, cool.
Brought a couple amps. Actually, I brought all my musical gear. So I brought a couple different speaker cabs. I think 10 or 11 guitars. All my pedals and stuff.
That's pretty accommodating, really.
It is, yeah. And it was, everything was insured. That was part of it. I'm like, well, if it's insured and if the thing falls into the ocean, then that's fine with me. But yeah, so once we got there, we had to buy a kitchen. Because most apartments there, when you move in, there's not a kitchen. There's just a room where you have to buy hookups and buy cabinets and buy a fridge for renting. So when we left, we ended up selling basically everything we had there, like our kitchen, most of our electronics that we were able to sell because the voltage is different there.
Yeah, right.
So we still came back with a lot. We brought back our couch and some other things, but we were thankful to find, we had to find basically the new tenant because one of the stipulations was we had to sell our kitchen. We couldn't bring that with us. So we had to find somebody that was willing to buy a kitchen and rent the apartment. So the landlord was like, yeah, you can find whoever you want. It's just, you got to get them to take on this stuff.
That's such a weird stipulation.
It was nuts. Yeah. So, but we were able to find this great couple from, one of them is from America. I think he lived in New York-ish. I think he lived on the East Coast. And then his partner, he was from Berlin, but they lived together in the UK. So one of them's German, one of them's American.
Right.
And they were in the UK and they were both moving together back to Germany. So we found somebody that needed all this stuff, including a kitchen, including all these electronics. So that made it way easier.
Kind of knew the drill. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to do a second contract. So this is a very long-winded story of saying, like, we were able to find some folks that needed everything, and we were able to get it to them at a very good price, much better than they would have to buy it, which enabled us to move back with a lot less.
Yeah.
And then, kind of not start totally from scratch. And then, of course, coming here during, a logistical nightmare during pandemic, everything was fucked up. So we were initially quoted door to door of our shipping container would be about 5 weeks. I think it was like, I'd have to ask Kelly. I think it was like 10. It was like 8 or 10.
Ouch.
Or maybe even more. It was a couple months. But the upside is that we were in our homeland. We knew the language. We knew how to get around. We had an apartment here worked out with our old landlord.
Yeah.
So we were able to kind of live, and we had like camping chairs in our living room.
Right.
And then my folks let us borrow some folding tables, and some other friends let us borrow some stuff to kind of make do for a while.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like looking back at the photos when we first landed here, and it was like our place looked like a dorm because it was, we would have like
really
a cooler on the side, and then, like chairs, and then a TV that we got at Costco, but it was sitting on top of just like another chair. Like it just looked like,
Right.
Did not
Got a
look
big
like
wire spool as a table.
right. Yeah, basically. Cinder blocks with plywood on top of it.
How much had Chicago changed, in your opinion?
A lot.
Yeah.
The neighborhoods, everything's similar but different. So like we were driving, even today, and we were driving through Wicker Park, and we're going to go to Big Star to get some tacos, and just driving down North Avenue, and we haven't driven down that road in like years, 5 years probably.
Yeah.
And like everything looks different. Like it's similar but different.
Yeah.
The neighborhood we live in is called Avondale. It's like right by Kuma's Corner and some other great spots.
Yep.
But even that, like it's totally different than I remember it before.
Wow.
A lot of our friends have moved on from here, so they don't live in the city proper. Like we have some friends that live in California or Michigan, or moved out to the East Coast. So socially, that's made it a little different than we kind of expected. But also, we're not being super social because of still trying to be as careful as we can around folks.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's weird to like go to a show and I'll like go to the Burlington or go to wherever. Beat Kitchen. I went to the Beat Kitchen the other night. These old venues that I used to go to all the time, and every once in a while there'll be like a bartender or like security staff that I haven't seen in 6 years, and it's like kind of like you go right back into it,
Right.
which is great. Like that kind of consistency is really welcoming. I think it kind of makes me feel like we're home, even though it's kind of a different world.
Yeah.
But yeah, also like the band, so Big Bird, like all those folks. Alex has been a good friend of mine for a long time. Matt, the drummer, he's also part of Typesetter. Awesome dude. He's a monster on the drums.
Yeah.
Probably one of the more insane drummers I've ever played with. And then Jeff, he works with Alex at the G-Man Tavern, which is probably my favorite bar in Chicago. It's attached to the Metro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right on.
And then Alex, they also work at G-Man and L&L, which is another bar, L&L Tavern. It's I'm sure it's haunted.
Nice.
But it's a bar that I think John Wayne Gacy used to frequent. It's like it's like
it's not like fun haunted.
I don't know. I mean, all haunted's kind of fun. But yeah, like it's definitely like a dive bar with a capital D.
Yeah.
But it's great. I love that place. But yeah, so having that group of folks to come back to and kind of like, so Jeff, I hadn't met him before we started the band. Jeff is a friend of Alex and Matt's and has become a good friend of mine too. So it's nice to like reestablish with some old friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, but then also build some new relationships out of that. And then, organically just meeting other friends through them. It's been great.
Yeah.
So slowly expanding my social circle and starting to feel more comfortable with being around people. But yeah, so I'd say, the others in Big Bird have been really helpful to this transition. And then also just, it's a lot of fun playing really loud music with friends.
Yeah.
I've really missed that.
Yeah. So have you been gigging any?
No. So we've been writing a lot. So we have our first show confirmed, but it's not yet announced. It'll be in October in Chicago. And then we're also playing at the Fest in Gainesville, Florida.
Okay.
At the end of October, which is like basically punk rock mecca. Like it's
sweet.
It's my favorite weekend of the year, not only because of the music, but it's definitely like a family reunion of people that I haven't seen in years. And this one I think will be really special because I haven't seen anyone since, I mean, most people haven't seen anybody, but since 2019 was the last year I was there.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we're really excited to play that. We're kind of going to be a little bit of a sore thumb, I think, because most bands, they kind of, again, generalizing, there's kind of like the quote unquote fest style bands, which bands like Iron Chic, a lot of bands try to emulate them, or Hot Water Music, which is one of my personal favorites. People try a lot of bands emulate that kind of like beardcore, ordcore, however you call it. Right. And we're definitely not, we lean more into like Helmet is a big influence of ours. Every Time I Die. Yes,
I could hear that.
Turnstile. Yeah. So like there's a lot of overlap, but also it's going to be interesting to see how it kind of pans out.
Yeah.
So that's our first, Fest is our first official show as of now, but we'll be playing, I think, a week or two before that in Chicago. So
right on. You know Nonagon?
I don't know them personally, but yeah, I do know them.
They're friends of ours. We got to introduce you. They are cool as fuck.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we know John Hasty really well. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I thought. I was like, yeah, they need to hook up with Nonagon.
Oh yeah, man. That would be a good match.
I'll bother them online right now, actually. Pause this and I'll shoot them a message.
Yeah.
If they want to play with us.
Yeah, just tell them we sent you. They're a really cool guy.
That'd be rad. Yeah. But yeah, so right now we're writing a lot. So we recorded our first 3 songs on this EP called Call Repeat that we just put out a couple weeks ago. We had that mixed by a good friend of mine who did the Sky We Scrape, which is my old band. He did the Sky We Scrape full length. He's done a lot of stuff for bands like Fall of Troy and Let Live and stuff like that. And then we had it mastered by Alan Douches, who's done like every band. So he's done like all Every Time I Die, Converge, My Chemical Romance, Brand New, like anything. Basically all my favorite bands.
That's what my 13-year-old daughter said. She's like, that sounds like My Chemical Romance.
So that's been fun. And so right now we're writing a bunch of stuff, and our plan is to record stuff as we go. And we have basically a handshake agreement with my good buddy Gunnar Christensen, who runs Gunnar Records in Germany, one of the best people on that continent as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to be putting out a record with him next year, and then doing a tour over there. And then the goal is to do like a couple weeks or 2, 3, 4 weeks over there, and then do that around Booze Cruise, so we can actually hit that next year, since we had to miss this year. But yeah, so we're just writing and recording and kind of just having fun with it. We got a bunch of silly shit coming up.
But it's not clunky by any means. I mean, I'm really digging what I'm hearing. It sounds very consummate. I mean, you guys, you know what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm very fortunate to work with, the other 3 folks in the band. They're the best musicians I think I've played with in a very long time, if not ever. And everyone brings, their own flavor to the table.
Yeah.
So like these first 3 songs, for the most part, I wrote the main parts of those. That's not to say I wrote everything. Of course, I wrote the bones to it, and then brought it to the band, just kind of as a starting point. And then it kind of morphed into what it is now. Like the drum parts that Matt plays, there's no way I could have done anything as wild as he does.
Yeah.
And same goes, of course, for what Alex and Jeff do. And then the new stuff that we're writing, there's a new song that Alex and I started banging around that they wrote all the parts too. And they and I met earlier this week and played through it, and it's just fucking nuts. I love it. So the stuff that we're working on now, it's definitely more of a pure collaboration, and all of us kind of putting our ideas together. So it's it's good because, yeah, like you said, I don't feel it's clunky at all. Nothing's forced. Yeah. We want to do stuff that we all feel happy about, and that, you know, for lack of a better term, we want to make sure it rips.
Yeah, it does. You don't sound anything like a band that's never played a gig.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the main challenge, I would say, is like, as we're writing, and as, like, for example, when Alex showed me the song that they wrote that we'll work on all together next week, my main struggle is when it's very riff heavy, I want to make sure that I can sing over it, or I can have Jeff play like the heavier parts where I kind of I dumb it down for myself, where I can focus on a melodic structure for vocals.
Yeah, you're getting a workout on Vox.
Yeah, and I hadn't done that in such a long time.
I mean, not that I can tell that you're bad at it, but I mean, it's just like you're working your ass off on
Vox. It's muscles that I haven't had to use as much. Like, yeah, with Little Teeth, I did a ton of backing vocals, of course, but then I wasn't carrying the band by any sense in terms of, you know, the main harmonies or the main melodic structure. I'd be doing a lot of harmonies, but singing that entire time and then singing with that much force is not something my body is used to. So there's definitely muscles that I'm needing to kind of rework on.
Work out. Yeah. Don't break them.
Yeah.
Don't get those nodules.
I've done that before. Yeah. When the Sky Race Grape, when we did a tour, I think it was our first European tour. We did 2 full ones. The first time we went over there, I just, like, part of it was I got sick just from the weather change. Before we recorded, we were talking about being sick and
the allergies
and stuff. Yeah. So when we went to the UK, we did a few dates in Germany, and then we went to the UK, and, like, as soon as we hit the UK, my throat just decided not to work, and it was rough. So I got some kind of mild virus, but then it was mainly just in my throat. And a lot of it was, you know, I wasn't quite tour ready in terms of my voice. So I'm trying to keep those muscles as active as possible. And, you know, because if not, I don't want that happening again. That was a drag.
Yeah. How many takes was it taking you for Vox on the DVP?
That one. So I recorded everything. I recorded it myself for us. So we kind of had the luxury of taking our time. So for vocals, I did those in the room by myself. Usually I like having someone with me to tell me if it's, you know, garbage or if it's good. But just timing wise, I was like, well, let me get some tracks down. Let me just see how it works. And I did it, and I did a bunch of different takes for the 3 songs. I think I did 2 different sessions. So I broke it up. Maybe it was 2 like 1-hour sessions or something, because I wanted to keep it nice and fresh.
Yeah.
But I did so many takes of each part that everything worked. And there's one song in there that's the third song of 3, Double Hockey Sticks.
Yeah.
In the bridge, there's kind of like, it gets a little weird, and there's a lot of like vocal layering and oohs and ahs, almost like a choir in there. And that's all my voice just layered in there.
Oh, see, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, and so all those voices are me, but then I had like an ungodly amount of tracks in there that we cut it down because it was just too many. But the point of that, like, that song is, you know, it kind of works to have kind of like I don't want to call it angelic, but kind of like almost not spiritual, but operatic kind of part in that, just thematically of what that song's about.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And then we were going to have a buddy of ours, or buddy of Alex and Matt's, play trumpet on that part, but then timing just didn't work out. So we're going to try to do some weird instrumentation with the future songs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but in terms of vocal takes, I was kind of, I don't want to say I was impressed with myself, but I was surprised, I guess, with myself.
That's
I didn't
okay.
Plug it up too bad. Yeah. But I'm very proud of how it turned out, for sure. So
yeah, you should be.
Thank you.
You should be. You knocked it out of the park, man.
Thanks.
I think it's great.
So this was all recorded like at home, or were you in the studio? Or
what studio? Or
yeah, we just recorded in our practice space here in Chicago. So over the years, I've collected a lot of pretty decent gear.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to record, like, my first time ever recording drums. So I recorded drums first with my guitar just as like a scratch track so that Matt could play to it. And did he's such a good drummer. Like he killed it in like, I think 2 takes he could have done it in 1. I think we probably kept his first track, his first take of each song.
Yeah.
But we, of course, did a lot of rehearsing before going in there and, recorded that. And then, and just individually recorded us all together. Individually, meaning we didn't record it live. So we did drums, and then Alex did their bass on top of my scratch tracks. And then Jeff played his, and then I did some overdubs for my own parts. But we had to kind of pick it in times where the building was not super active because we didn't want a lot of audio bleed. There's some other bands in our area, like in the area of the building, that we didn't want to be like hearing, Spoon Man playing in the background. I mean, I love Spoon Man. I love Spoon Man, but
not on your record.
Not on mine.
Right.
Yeah. So it was, we recorded that all ourselves. And then Chuck Masick from Electroworks Recording, he did all I'll say the more heavy lifting of actually making it sound good and doing making the drums sound as good as I could. And he, of course, did a great job. Chuck's a drummer himself. And I know when Matt was recording, he plays so many notes, like he's just a machine. He was like, I really feel bad for Chuck, because if he's going to have to replace any of these hits or do any adjustments, there's a lot of notes in there and a lot of ghost notes. So I talked to Chuck about it, and he was like, no, man, it's fun. I love it. I was like, all right, dude. As long as you're okay with it, that's a lot of work. But so I'm really appreciative of Chuck's work.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what's the material level looking like for the LP?
So we're aiming to do every 3 songs we have 100% finished. We're going to record and then kind of build it from there. My personal goal would be to have 12 or 13 recorded, release an album of maybe 10 or 11, and then keep 2 as, tracks for either a comp or a benefit thing, just to kind of have some other B-sides. So right now we have the 3 that are already released on Call Repeat EP. We have 3 other ones that are pretty much, saved from some vocal stuff that I need to work out. Those are pretty far along. And then I have a SoundCloud folder of 9 or 15 or 20, I don't know, an insane amount of ideas that are as fleshed out as maybe the first 3 that came out are, but just in my own, my dumb brain parts, not with, Alex and Matt and Jeff's smart brains added.
Right.
So there's a lot of material. Part of the struggle is just going to be timing in terms of getting it ready to go, and knowing that, vinyl production is so delayed.
I know.
So we want to have it out, the full length out next year by June, but it's going to be a struggle. But
it's, man, I just literally, one of my vinyls that I had asked for Christmas, I just got last week.
Oh, no way. Yeah. I mean, it's taken forever. I'm hoping that it'll kind of pick up a little bit. I did some album art for some good friends of mine from LA called the Blackmail House. And they just got their copies of their LP in 2 days ago. And it just made me so happy to see friends of mine have their records in their hands, especially ones that I did the artwork for. I'm really proud of how that looks, but the way they put that, I mean, this is a band y'all should check out too. They're called Blackmail House. They're so good. This album they put together, a lot of bands, when you have a horn section or strings or whatever, you'll use MIDI or use kind of, real sounding instruments, but not actually hire an orchestra or whatever. They have 20 or 25, I don't know, it's an insane amount of different live musicians they actually had do all these parts live. So there's no artificial instrumentation on there. And they work their asses off, and it definitely, you can hear it. It's great. So I'll just send you a link to that. It's the album's called, the band name is Blackmail House, and the album is called Catacombs.
All right. What city are they out of? What did you say?
They're in Los Angeles.
LA. Okay.
Yeah, but I know Patrick, the singer and main songwriter, he and I went to the same, not the same school. He went to St. Charles, Illinois, and I went in Geneva, Illinois. But we were friends all growing up through high school. So he's an old friend of mine.
Sweet. What's your visual art medium?
So for that one, it was I used some photography that they had, and it was all just a lot of Photoshop and Illustrator work. So they're really inspired by kind of, for lack of a better term, I guess like retro stylings and some not quite oldie stuff, but kind of like spooky oldie stuff, like so I took a lot of the photography they had and just some of the thematic elements they play with lyrically, and it's really dark looking, but it's kind of quirky too. So a lot of it plays off of the whole like Ouija board aesthetic.
Yes, that's my jam.
I know it's a lot of fun, and they took the album artwork, and I made a little like Ouija board planchette as part of their artwork.
Uh-huh.
And they had an artist, I think she's from California as well, but they had this woman make custom made Ouija board planchettes out of wood and painted them out of this design. So they sent me one, and it's amazing. So they're doing this, like, if you pre-order their album, you basically are automatically entered to, if you pre-ordered on vinyl, you're automatically entered to win one of these. I think there's only one left of these custom planchettes. It's rad. So I don't mean to spend all this time pumping my friend's band.
No, that's cool.
I love like niche merch like that.
Yeah.
Just shit like that's just like, you get our custom pair of socks or, just whatever. I love shit like that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Especially like since a lot of things have gone to be, and rightly so, have gone to be a little bit more intangible and like not physical.
Right.
Whenever a band can do something that makes something special, you have a tangible physical, I don't want to say product, but a memento or a piece of that artwork or that art, but it's not necessarily a vinyl record, which thankfully they're able to have a vinyl record as well. But a lot of bands can't just because of production or, Hoobastank or whoever the fuck is taking up all of the pressing plants capabilities. Probably not Hoobastank. Maybe like Taylor Swift. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Adele. Yeah. And Adele. Yeah. That's
and Adele. But I did see, I don't know if y'all saw Jack White. He made a plea on YouTube or somewhere on the internet to the major record labels to say, you used to own your own pressing plants back in the day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then now, so when production went down, that was when smaller indie labels and bands could really get their stuff out. And now these major labels are just like bombarding the ones that are existing, like these pressing plants that are existing. So no one else can get their stuff out.
Right.
So he kind of made a plea, he made a plea to say, like, you used to do this. If you really support this medium and you want music to succeed, like, invest in your own artists and invest in your own label and create your own pressing plant. And I'm kind of to a fault an optimist. So I'd hope that some of these labels would take it upon themselves to say, like, yeah, you know what, we believe in this as the future of music in some capacity at least.
Yeah.
And also just as like a goodwill statement and goodwill action towards the community to say, like, we want smaller artists or, up and coming artists to have the same opportunities.
Yeah.
Because like for me, like the first time I held my own band's record in my hand was like, it almost brought me to tears. Like we got it pressed through United Pressing, and it was like wild to get our first test pressing for. We did a Skyway Scrape. We did a split with a band called Hawkbit from Chicago, and when I got that in the mail, I was like, I never in my life, thought I would have my own record. And then since then, I've been very fortunate to have half dozen or a dozen different albums out on vinyl. And it's every time I get it in the mail, like the test pressing, or every time I like see it on a shelf. Yeah. Like it's funny. I was at a record store here in Chicago called Bucket of Blood. It's a great local shop. They have like vinyl and they have a lot of great books and, all sorts of stuff. But I was going through their used records and I found my old band's, a split 7-inch that we did, Skyway Scrape did with this band called Common War, which is members of Death by Stereo. Ooh. And it was in the used rack. And I was like, oh, that's so cool to see. Kind of bums me out that someone got rid of it.
It's like a bittersweet thing.
I was like, that's cool. Oh, but it's always like those little things to see, like either in the wild or like just,
I can't imagine.
It's really moving for a musician to see, even if someone sold it, it back to a store, like
I mean, even Matt and I at one point in time made the liner notes for a Godzillionaire album, and we both cried. I think
that's amazing. Yeah,
we all was like, well, then that was like bucket list type thing to be in the liner notes,
just to be in the liner notes. It wasn't even our album,
especially of an artist. I know that y'all love Godzillionaire too, so like that's gonna be massive.
They're great guys.
Yeah, wonderful. Man, it's got to be an awesome feeling.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I can't wait for the next one. And actually, for Big Bird, we're working on it right now. Trying to do like a smaller run lathe cut, so not like a full vinyl production, but just like a really limited run of this EP on 7-inch. So we're trying to work that out. That's actually my big to do this next week.
Oh, cool!
And the goal is to have that ready by. It's a very optimistic goal, but our goal is to have that ready by our shows in October, which might happen since it's like the way lathe cuts are done. It's not contingent on. A huge undertaking, but it's still going to be probably a pain in the ass. But yeah,
still, man, for everything you've done, all the moving around shit and everything that's going on in the world, good on you, man.
Well, we're trying at least.
Yeah,
trying and having fun. That's the other thing is like,
it's fun. Yeah.
We're all like relatively enough like realists on what's realistic, I guess. And I turned 40 in December. Like I'm not personally looking to quit my job and tour or anything. The only way that would go is if like someone like, I don't know, not Foo Fighters. That's kind of the biggest band in the world. If they were like, hey, we want to take you on tour, and you know
what though? We just had literally Kansas City band. Not that big. They're on their way up. They're making some noise.
Yeah.
But they just opened for the Foo Fighters, like for real. Radkey.
Oh yeah.
Saw them last night and hung out with them.
They're great. Yeah, they're playing in Chicago coming up. I have some friends that are going. Actually, the woman who cuts my hair, she's a great barber at Pete's Barbershop here in Chicago. She's saying that she's going to see Radkey coming up, and I was like, I didn't even know that was happening. So I didn't know they were from KC. That's awesome.
Yeah. Isaiah's been on the show. I think really luckily, just because we could drop enough names locally around here. We were like, hey, we're friends with these guys. These guys, and some local bands of Como and KC who know them.
Yeah,
and they kind of vouched for us. But they got picked up that way. I mean, you could tell if you even talk to them that it's hard for them to fathom.
I'm sure. Yeah,
just coming from a little town like St. Joseph, Missouri,
right.
Just being this, 3-piece,
3 homeschool kids, they taught themselves at home.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And their first gig, they fucking opened for Fishbone.
Yeah. First gig. As teenagers.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Kismet there for sure.
Yeah.
But still telling, I mean, well deserving of it.
Totally. They're great. So yeah, that's awesome to hear.
And you guys too, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely. We want to get the word out there for sure.
Well, I really appreciate it.
As much as we can, which isn't much.
Yeah. Come to Missouri, man. If you get like on the road doing shit.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're definitely going to want to do, some Midwest stuff. So I definitely see that happening. And Alex they're originally from the St. Louis area. So I know we would want to hit Missouri and all around basically. So.
Oh yeah. Right on. That 44 corridor, man. You go from St. Louis, you hit Columbia, you hit Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They're all 2 hours apart from each other.
That's not a bad drive.
3 shows, bang, 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 right in a row. And get some, good exposure. I don't know how much money you'll make. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's not what we're obviously I'm turning 40 and I'm doing this. So I'm not
all right. No, we'll find you a place to play if you need one.
Sure.
But, yeah, definitely. That would be amazing.
And a place to crash. You can come here.
That'd be great.
We got an extra room.
Need just a spot on the floor. That's all I need.
Oh, hell no. We got a guest room. Big house.
Well, spoil me. Sure.
Anytime. We'll grow you some vegetables.
Love it. Vegetables or whatever the fuck you eat.
Go throw a big bird on the grill.
No.
Oh, man. So Bandcamp is still probably the best way to get your shit, you think, or as far as you and what benefits you, or
yeah, Bandcamp, Spotify. I mean, any of it's all good. Yeah. So yeah, we're on any streaming place. Bandcamp's probably the easiest for some folks. Spotify is good for others. I know the only place that's not Big Bird with a period is on Apple Music. I think just because I don't know why, but they're not allowing it yet for whatever reason. But
yeah,
I don't think that's
fascist.
Yeah. No. Steve Jobs haunting us from the grave. Yeah, like basically anywhere you find it, we're happy to have people listen to it.
Well,
Right on.
But yeah, to buy it too.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yeah.
You got any shirts or anything? Any merch out?
Yeah, we have a bunch of stickers and shit that I'm working on getting some. We're gonna have some shirts out for sure for our first show.
Yeah,
we're gonna have tote bags up soon. I have the stuff to print those, so we're kind of piecing together all this stuff. I actually ordered a bunch of coasters, like beer coasters, to send to bars around town in Chicago, and then
right on.
Maybe around some other areas, like especially when we play in other towns. I kind of want to send some coasters with like a QR code with some dumb shit on it. But
great.
Yeah, I used to print everything. For Little Teeth, I printed most of our stuff. For Skyway Scrape, I printed most of our stuff, just kind of DIY. Matt from Big Bird, he is actually he works at a screen printing place, and he's really good at it. He's a professional dude. And actually in Skyway Scrape, Justin, our drummer, I don't know what it is with drummers and screen printing, but apparently they all do that.
Yeah.
So Justin's a screen print artist. He's one of the most talented visual artists I know. He does stuff for like Wilco and Fish and like that, like all these like the Lumineers, like basically any band you could think of.
Wow.
Super, super talented. Justin Santora is his name. But yeah, Matt, I'm going to be enlisting him hopefully, or we're going to be enlisting him and printing out some shirts coming up here pretty soon, I think.
Those guitar picks are hilarious. Are those for real?
Yeah, those are for real. Are they? Because I was like, actually have a bunch sitting right next to me. Like I needed to buy some more guitar picks, and our other guitarist Jeff was like, yeah, I used this one place to order some for his other band called From Beyond These Walls. And I was like, oh, it's this place called In Tune Picks. And I was like, oh, is it In Tune? He's like, yeah. So I was like, oh, cool. So I didn't tell anybody in the band, but I was like, I went ahead and figured out what gauge picks everyone uses. So myself, Alex, and Jeff, and I ordered us all picks. So now we have like just a ridiculous amount of Big Bird picks. So we'll probably have some of those at the merch table too, because why not?
Oh, sweet. We'll have to PayPal you and get some of those. I think they're so funny.
No, I'll just give me your address. I'll mail them to you.
Right.
Don't PayPal me anything. Return that.
Yeah, just to describe them. I mean, well, you could see them if you go check out Big Bird's Facebook, Instagram, things like that. But yeah, it's the Sesame Street nomenclature animal with his eyes blacked out in stag, like a stag film.
Yeah,
oh, they're great.
Yeah, we're kind of just that with that design. We're our friend Anthony, who plays in a band called Royal Dog. He did that design for us, and it just made me laugh so hard.
I got a good chuckle out of it. Well, man, anything else you want to plug or anything? We don't want to keep you on all night or anything. I know we all got Dad's Day tomorrow and stuff. So
yeah,
no, not much. I mean, we got just new stuff we're going to be recording soon, and eventually playing some shows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for now, I really appreciate y'all asking me to come back on. It was cool to do this in 2 different continents. So next time I'll have to pick a different continent to be on when we talk.
Do it from, yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate the chance to talk about Big Bird and the new stuff and catch up with y'all again. It's been great.
Oh man, we love having you on.
Well, the tease we've got is really enticing. So
thank you very much. That really means a lot. I really appreciate that.
Yes, everybody go check it out for sure. Big Bird, period.
Lowercase Big Bird, period.
Lowercase Big Bird, period. Big Bird Chicago, a few ways to find it. But, just ask your Google Home lady or your Alexa or whatever that is. Yeah, here, I'll do it. I'll do it for everybody. Alexa, play Big Bird, double hockey sticks. There you go.
I really hope that works. Like that. I think there was that South Park episode where they did this whole episode where they're like, Alexa, buy blah, blah, blah. And like people's Alexas actually started like ordering stuff and it wasn't protected.
That's funny.
Yes. Alexa, play Double Hockey Sticks by Big Bird on Spotify.
There you go.
There you go.
That'll work. It'll work. I hope. Jason, thanks for joining us, man.
For sure.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Matt.
We had a good time.
Yeah.
And come back on sometime, and we'll, get that LP out, and we want to talk about that for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Once we're getting ready for that, that'd be awesome to chat again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right on. Everybody, thanks for listening to Undetermined the Podcast. Special guest Jason S. Thompson, Big Bird. Go buy that EP.
Yeah.
Jesus, don't be a cheapskate. It's cheap. Get it. It's good. You'll love it. I surely did. Matt surely did.
Yes.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Hey, happy birthday to all the dads.
Yeah.
This will be out after that, but
Anyway. Still.
Bye.
Bye-bye.